guys. Tonight I'm going to read you some facts about Harry Potter. I've wanted to do this one for a long time because I'm a huge fan, but a lot of other people have done this and I try and pick facts that are sort of different, but I found some online that I hadn't heard before. Now there was a lot I had heard as well, but I thought it might be worth making a video, and if you're a fan, hopefully you'll enjoy. So we'll start. Rowling and Harry share a birthday. They both blow out candles on July 31st, and that's not the only influence Rowling had on her characters. She said that Hermione is a bit like her when she was younger, and her favourite animal is an otter, which is of course Hermione's Patronus. Plus, both Dumbledore and Rowling like sherbet lemons. Rowling said that the wizards got good taste. She invented the names of Hogwarts houses on the back of a barf bag. In 2000, Scholastic gave school children across the US the opportunity to ask Rowling questions about Harry Potter. When one student asked her, "What made you think of the people's names and dormitories at Hogwarts?" Rowling responded, "I invented the names of the houses on the back of an airplane sick bag. This is true. I love inventing names, but I also collect unusual names, so that I can look through my notebook and choose one that suits a new character." Early on, Rowling wrote a sketch of the final chapter of the final book. Rowling calls the idea that she had the first chapter of Deathly Hallows written and locked away in the safe rubbish, but there was a small element of truth to it. I had very early on, but not the first day or anything, probably within the first year of writing. I wrote a sketch for what I thought the final chapter would be, she told Harry Potter's big screen player Daniel Radcliffe. In an interview for the Deathly Hallows Part 2 DVD extra features, "I always knew, and this was from really early on, that I was working towards the point where Hagrid carried Harry, alive but supposedly dead, out of the forest, always. I knew we were always working towards a final battle at Hogwarts. I knew that Harry would walk to his death. I planned the ghosts, for want of a better word, coming back, that they would walk with him into the forest. We would all believe that he was walking to his death, and he would emerge in Hagrid's arms. And that mental image is what kept Hagrid alive, despite the fact that he would have been a natural to kill in some ways," Rowling said. "But because I always cleaved to this mental image of Hagrid being the one carrying Harry out, that was so perfect for me, because it was Hagrid who took him into the world, and Hagrid who would bring him back. That's where we were always going. Hagrid was never in danger." The Dementors are based on Rowling's struggle with depression after her mother's death. Rowling's mother, who had multiple sclerosis, died in 1990, after which Rowling suffered a period of depression. She would use the experience to characterize the Harry Potter's Dementors, creepy creatures that fed on human emotion. It's so difficult to describe depression to someone who's never been there, because it's not sadness. Rowling told Oprah Winfrey, "I know sadness. Sadness is to cry and to feel, but it's that cold absence of feeling, that really hollowed out feeling. That's what Dementors are." She created Quidditch after a fight with her boyfriend. If you want to create a game like Quidditch, what you have to do is have an enormous argument with your then boyfriend, Rowling said in 2003. You walk out of the house, you sit down in a pub, and you invent Quidditch. And I don't really know what the connection is between the row and Quidditch, except that Quidditch is quite a violent game, and maybe in my deepest, darkest soul, I would have quite liked to see him hit by a bludger. The Wizarding World's plans all come from a real book. I used to collect names of plants that sounded witchy, she told 60 Minutes. And then I found this. Culpepper's Complete Herbal, and it was the answer to my every prayer. Flaxweed, toadflax, fleawort, goutwort, grummel, knotgrass, mugwort. The book was penned in the 17th century by English botanist and herbalist Nicholas Culpeper. A proposed title for the American version of Philosopher's Stone was Harry Potter and the School of Magic. Rowling turned that down, saying, "No, that doesn't feel right to me. What if we called it the Sorcerer's Stone?" Rowling made complicated outlines for the books. The outline has chapter titles, a general outline of the plot, then more specific plot points for certain characters. And they actually show a picture of it, but I don't know how she deciphered it. Arthur Weasley was supposed to die in a battle between good and evil, this epic. Not everyone would make it through alive. That would have led to very fluffy, cozy books. She said in an interview, suddenly I would be halfway through Goblet of Fire, and everyone would have just had a really great life, and the plot would go AWOL. Which is not to say that Rowling knew exactly who was on the chopping block. She thought about killing Arthur Weasley after he's attacked by Nagini in Order of the Phoenix, but instead opted to save him, partly because there were very few good fathers in the book. In fact, you could make a very good case for Arthur Weasley being the only good father in the whole series. She also seriously considered killing Ron, but then she thought better of it. Instead, Lupin, a character she had no intention of killing when she began the books, and Tonks died during the final battle of Hogwarts. I wanted there to be an echo of what happened to Harry, just to show the absolute evil of what Voldemort's doing, she said. I think one of the most devastating things about war is the children left behind, as happened in the First War when Harry's left behind. I wanted us to see another child left behind, and it made it very poignant that it was Lupin and Tonks' newborn son. To keep Deathly Hallows from leaking early, Bloomsbury gave it code names. Haley Joel Osment could have played Harry. When Steven Spielberg was attached to direct the film adaptation, he wanted Sixth Sense star Haley Joel Osment to play Harry, but the director eventually left over a creative clash with Rowling, and new director Chris Columbus had to find his star. Some 300 kids tried for Harry Potter over a period of 7 months. There were times when we felt we would never find an individual who embodied the complex spirit and depth of Harry, Columbus said. Then one night, Heyman went to the theatre with screenwriter Steve Kloves, who ended up penning all but one of the Potter scripts. There, sitting behind me, was this boy with these big blue eyes. It was Daniel Radcliffe. He told Hero Complex in 2009. I remember my first impressions. He was curious and funny and so energetic. There was real generosity too and sweetness, but at the same time he was really voracious and with hunger for knowledge of whatever kind. He persuaded Radcliffe's parents to let their son audition, and the rest is history. Rupert Grint's audition was unusual. 9-year-old Emma Watson's first audition for the role of Hermione took place in the school gym. She auditioned a total of 8 times. Grint, then 10, sent in a video audition and went in a rather unusual direction. I found out that you could audition by sending a picture of yourself and some information to Newsround. He said in 2002, I did my own video with me, first of all pretending to be my drama teacher, who unfortunately was a girl, and then I did a rap of how I wanted to be Ron, and then I made my own script thing up and sent it off. He had some competition though. Tom Felton auditioned for both Ron and Harry before ultimately being cast as Draco Malfoy. There's a very good reason Harry's eyes aren't green in the movies. In the books, Harry's eyes are described as bright green, but Radcliffe's are blue. When Sorcerer's Stone was in pre-production, Heyman called Rowling and told her their options. They'd try green contacts. They could also try making Radcliffe's eyes green in post-production. How important was it, he wondered, for Harry's eyes to be green? Rowling said that the only thing that was really important was that Harry's eyes looked like his mother's eyes, so whoever played Lily Potter would need to have some resemblance to Radcliffe. There was a relief for Radcliffe, who had an extremely adverse reaction to the contacts. He was also allergic to the glasses, which made him break out in acne. The brooms used in the series aren't regular brooms. They were made by modeller Pierre Bohanna using aircraft-grade titanium. People think of them as a prop the kids are carrying around, but in reality they have to sit on them. The chief creative officer of the firm Global Entertainment Services, which puts on Harry Potter the exhibition, told Popular Mechanics they have to be mounted onto motion control bases for green screen shots and special effect shots, so they have to be very thin and incredibly durable. Most of these kids weighed 80 pounds, 90 pounds at the beginning. Now they're all adults, so they're up over 120, 130 pounds. And you really have to make sure your brooms can withstand that. The role of Peeves was cast and filmed and then cut. British comedian Rick Mayall was cast as Hogwarts prank-cappy poltergeist in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. He showed up and shot the scenes, which were later cut when director Chris Columbus decided he didn't like the look of the ghost. Mayall described the experience in a 2011 interview. I got sent off the set because every time I tried to do a bit of acting, all the lads who were playing the school kids kept getting the giggles. They kept corpsing, so they threw me off. Well, they asked me to do it with my back to them and they still laughed. So they asked me to do it around the other side of the cathedral and shout my lines, but they still laughed. So they said they'd do my lines with someone else. So then I did a little bit of filming and I went home and I got the money. That's significant. Then a month later they said, Rick, we're sorry about this, but you're not in the film. We've cut you out of the film, but I still got the money. So that's the most exciting film I've ever been in, because I got the oodle and I wasn't in it. Fantastic. He didn't tell his kids though that his part had been cut, and when they went to see it, they came back and they said, "Bloody good makeup. You didn't look like yourself at all, Dad." Mayall said. They thought I was playing Hagrid, Robbie Coltrane's part. The actress who played Moaning Myrtle was so much older than a student. Shirley Henderson was 36 when she played the bathroom haunting ghost of a 14-year-old student who was killed by a basilisk stare in Chamber of Secrets. Playing a ghost was tougher than playing a real person, she told the BBC, because of all the technical stuff it involved. I had to be strapped up to this harness so it looked as if I was flying, and so I could be pushed through the air and twisted and turned over and over again. It's physically very tiring on your body. It also requires a lot of concentration, because all kinds of people shouting stuff like turn, do this, look at this, so they can do all their stuff with the computer effects while I'm trying to act it out. But once you block all that out, it's really great fun. Prisoner of Azkaban director Alfonso Cuarón asked the trio to write essays about their characters. He wanted Watson, Radcliffe and Grint to write essays about their characters from a first-person's point of view, according to him, and they all responded very much in character. Dan wrote a page, Emma wrote 10, and Rupert didn't deliver anything. Grin told Entertainment Weekly, "I didn't do mine, because I don't think Ron would." Or that was my excuse. At the time I was actually quite busy with the real schoolwork involved in my exams, and I just didn't do it. But in the end it felt right, because that's what Ron would have done. Rowling shot down one of Cuarón's ideas. Rowling wasn't precious about all the details of her books, i.e. Harry's eye colour. "Inevitably, you have to depart from the strict storyline of the books," she told Radcliffe. "The books are simply too long to make into very faithful films." But that didn't mean she'd let everything slide. "Sometimes I would dig my heels on the funniest things," she said. "I'd say, yeah, change the costume, that's not a problem. Then all of a sudden I'd say, why would they do that spell? They wouldn't do that there." Take, for example, one shot that Cuarón wrote into Prisoner of Azkaban, which Rowling called rather bizarre. "I think Flitwick was conducting, and there were miniature people in the orchestra inside something," she told Radcliffe. "I said to him, but why? I know it's visually exciting, but part of what I think fans really enjoyed about the literary world is that there was a logic that underpinned it. There was always a logic to the magic, however strange it became. And I know it's intriguing to go through the mouth of whatever it is and see these little people, but why would they have done it? For you to film it, that's just what it feels like. Normally with the magic there's a point, so we had a bit of a discussion." Rowling tipped Alan Rickman off to Snape's motivations. "I told him really early on that Snape had been in love with Lily. That's why he hated James. That's why he projected this amount of dislike onto Harry," Rowling told Radcliffe, "so he knew that. Then you told me that he'd been saying, I just don't think Snape would do that, given what I know." She laughed, continuing, "And I thought, Alan, are you really milking this now?" She also tipped Radcliffe off to Harry's partial fate after seeing him in Aqueous. Radcliffe asked her, point blank, "Do I die?" "You've got a dead scene," Rowling told him. "I saw you double take," Rowling said. Neil, my husband, afterwards said, "What did Dan ask you?" And I said he really wanted to know if he's going to die. When he asked what I'd said, Rowling told him, "I'm not telling you. Though her husband was tipped off to Dumbledore's fate ahead of time, Rowling kept Harry's ultimate fate a secret till the end. The actors couldn't play contact sports. Instead, they played golf. Rupert Grint and my brother James and I would hang out at the driving range downstairs quite a bit. Oliver Phelps, who played George Weasley, told DW. I mean, I say driving range, but it was a mat and a 150-yard cone at the other end. Golf was one of the only sports we were allowed to do in our contract because it was relatively quite safe. We couldn't do any contact sports. The movies featured some high-tech visual effects. Visual effect artists were tasked with bringing many of the fantastic magical elements of Harry Potter to life, including everything from fire-breathing dragons and club-swinging giants to can't talk tonight, to zombie-like Inferi and Voldemort's snake-like face, which was created by using practical makeup and digitally removing Ralph Fiennes' nose. One of their most challenging sequences came early in Deathly Hallows, when members of the Order of the Phoenix arrive at Privet Drive to whisk Harry away to a safe spot. Multiple Harrys, Mad-Eye Moody says, will confuse the Death Eaters on their trail. So some of the wizards chug Polyjuice potion and transform into Harry. The transformation was tough for visual effect artists to pull off. We needed to have a little bit of the attributes of Harry and a little bit of the attributes of whoever we started with. George, Fred, Ron, Hermione, Nicholas. The VFX supervisor at Moving Picture Company told Popular Mechanics, the tricky part is you have to be able to read the Harry part and the George part. What we keep from each of these characters has to be perfect. They accomplished it by coating the actors' faces in UV paint, then having them make faces at the MOVA Contour reality capture system, which has 29 cameras and can capture 50,000 points of information, creating a 3D mesh cloud they could use as a basis for the transforming faces. According to Phelps, it was completely different than anything they'd ever done before. There are probably 30 different facial expressions they tried to get you to do, he told Popular Mechanics. I never realised how wide I could open my mouth until we did that scene, so that was quite cool. Because of the UV paint, the VFX artists had one piece of advice. Phelps said they were quite keen to say, just don't do any nightclubs tonight because you look like a floating head. That's actually really interesting. Hang on, I just want to check how long this video is. I can't tell. Okay, I'll read a couple more and then I might actually make a part 2 of this, because I've got lots more. Not all the effects were computer generated. Animatronics were made for the actors to interact with on set, including Baby Mandrakes, Hedwig, the Monster Book of Horror of Monsters, and Buckbeak, which was used on set for close-ups. He could stare at you, his eyes could follow you, he could bow, and every one of his feathers was dyed and put in by hand. Nuquist told Pop Meg. There are tens of thousands of them, and they look absolutely gorgeous. Other creatures were built to give the animators reference for lighting, like the giant Jack-in-the-Box from Prisoner of Azkaban, and the house elf creature. film's makeup artists applied the lightning bolt scar many, many times over the course of 8 films. 5,800 times to be exact. In her 2014 interview with Ratcliffe, he told us, the lightning scar in the first 2 films, we essentially painted it on. And after that we used Prose Aid, which was like a glue to put it on. It was very simple. The scar was applied to his face 2,000 times. The rest went on film and stunt doubles. Ratcliffe also went through 160 pairs of Harry's round framed glasses. Helena Bonham Carter kept her Bellatrix teeth. I loved my fake teeth, the actress told EW. I kept them because they're not going to fit anybody else. I keep them in a blue plastic thing in the bathroom and bring them out when I miss Bellatrix. So I think I'll leave it there and I'll do a part 2 to this, otherwise it's just going to be crazy long. So I'll see you very soon. Sweet dreams.